In the rapidly shifting landscape of U.S. politics, Secretary of State Marco Rubio has found himself at the center of a significant power play within the Trump administration. As President Donald Trump hints at stepping back from a potential third term, the spotlight is now on who might carry the mantle of his political legacy in 2028. The president has notably elevated Rubio's stature, naming him not only as the Secretary of State but also as the Interim National Security Advisor, a dual role previously held by the likes of Henry Kissinger. This elevation coincides with Trump's public acknowledgement of Rubio as a potential successor alongside Vice President JD Vance, igniting speculation about an upcoming rivalry. During a recent interview with NBC News, Trump remarked, "You look at Marco, you look at JD Vance. Who's fantastic?" His comments have injected a new layer of intrigue into the dynamics of the Republican Party as it gears up for the next presidential cycle. Despite their rising profiles, insiders suggest that any competition between Rubio and Vance is currently overstated. Those close to both men emphasize the strong personal and professional ties that exist between them. "They've got a really good personal and professional relationship," noted a source familiar with their camaraderie, indicating that a primary contest between the two might be unlikely. As a seasoned politician, Rubio's ascension within the Trump administration is underscored by his growing influence on foreign policy, particularly as the U.S. navigates complex relationships with nations such as Russia and Ukraine. Having previously supported military aid to Ukraine, Rubio's stance has evolved amidst the shifting political tides of the Trump era. He has become a vocal advocate for a more isolationist approach, suggesting that the U.S. must prioritize domestic issues over international conflicts, a sentiment that resonates with Trump's populist base. This political recalibration, however, has not come without its challenges. Rubio is now tasked with balancing his own hawkish instincts regarding Russia with Trump's desire for swift resolutions to ongoing conflicts. His recent remarks indicate a sense of urgency in negotiations, stating, "We need to figure out here now, within a matter of days, whether this is doable in the short term. Because if it's not, then I think we're just going to move on." This balancing act is critical, as missteps could jeopardize both his credibility and political future. Simultaneously, Rubio's role has drawn scrutiny from both sides of the aisle. Some Democratic senators who initially supported his confirmation have expressed regret, citing concerns over his alignment with Trump's controversial policies. Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen, for instance, lamented, "I don't know how anybody could do these two big jobs," referring to Rubio's extensive responsibilities. Nevertheless, others acknowledge the strategic necessity of having a figure like Rubio engaged in critical negotiations over Ukraine. As the dust settles on recent developments, the implications for both Rubio and the broader Republican landscape are profound. The potential rivalry with Vance adds a layer of complexity to the 2028 elections, while Rubio's dual roles may position him as a key player in shaping the future of U.S. foreign policy. Observers will be keenly watching how he navigates the challenges ahead, particularly with Trump's unpredictable leadership style. In conclusion, as the political landscape continues to evolve, Rubio's trajectory will likely serve as a litmus test for the Republican Party's future direction. His ability to reconcile competing interests within the administration and appeal to both the MAGA base and moderate Republicans will be crucial. With the next presidential election looming, the dynamics between Rubio-Vance and the Trump legacy will undoubtedly shape the narrative of American politics in the years to come. In a striking convergence of military oversight and ideological conflict, West Point finds itself embroiled in the broader culture wars ignited by the recent directives from Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. Just 4 days into his tenure, Hegseth issued a controversial order mandating military academies, including the prestigious United States Military Academy at West Point, to cleanse their curricula of content deemed divisive or un-American. This unprecedented move has led to significant upheaval on the hallowed grounds of West Point, where academic freedom now clashes with political mandates. The repercussions of Hegseth's directive have manifested rapidly. Within hours of the order, department heads at West Point began requesting syllabi from civilian and military faculty, signaling a systematic review of course content. Faculty members reported a troubling shift as the administration initiated a campaign to remove literature focusing on race, gender, and uncomfortable aspects of American history. Notably, 2 courses, one in English and another in history, were abruptly cancelled mid-semester for failing to comply with these new guidelines, a decision that has sparked outrage among faculty and students alike. The implications of this policy shift extend beyond classroom walls, raising critical questions about West Point's commitment to academic integrity. Interviews with over a dozen professors and staff members reveal a deep-seated concern about the erosion of intellectual rigor at an institution that prides itself on fostering critical thinking. As one history professor was reportedly instructed to avoid discussing atrocities committed against Native Americans, the academic community's fears have materialized into tangible dissent. At least 2 tenured professors have resigned in protest, disillusioned by an environment that they believe undermines the very essence of education. The situation is further complicated by the conflicting roles that West Point occupies as both an educational institution and a component of the U.S. Army. This duality places faculty members in a precarious position, torn between adherence to their professional convictions and compliance with federal directives. The ambiguity surrounding Hegseth's order has left many educators grappling with moral dilemmas. Should they resist, comply, or seek alternative pathways to convey essential truths to their students? Amidst this turmoil, notable resignations have highlighted the depth of discontent. Christopher Barth, the Academy's senior librarian, departed after 14 years, citing the untenable pressure to conform to guidelines that contradicted his professional ethics. Similarly, Graham Parsons, a philosophy professor who had dedicated over a decade to teaching at West Point, articulated his shame in a guest essay for the New York Times, stating, "I am ashamed to be associated with the Academy in its current form." His departure reflects a broader sentiment among faculty that the Academy is succumbing to political pressures that jeopardize its academic mission. As these events unfold, the Pentagon and West Point face an existential crisis. The push to instill a so-called warrior ethos, as described by Hegseth, has ignited fears that the Academy is being politicized, compromising its foundational values in the process. The consequences of this ideological battle could reverberate far beyond West Point, shaping the future of military education and, by extension, the U.S. Armed Forces. In the political sphere, Hegseth's actions have drawn criticism not only from within the military community but also from lawmakers. Representative Seth Moulton has emerged as one of Hegseth's most vocal opponents, labeling him criminally incompetent and warning that his leadership could jeopardize national security. Moulton's concerns underscore a growing unease about the politicization of the military and the implications of a leadership that prioritizes loyalty over competence. Looking ahead, the unfolding situation at West Point serves as a bellwether for the future of military education in the United States. As tensions mount and faculty members grapple with the implications of Hegseth's directives, the Academy stands at a crossroads. Will it uphold its commitment to academic freedom and critical inquiry, or will it capitulate to political pressures that threaten to reshape its very identity? As the nation watches, the evolving landscape at West Point may well set a precedent for how military institutions navigate the turbulent waters of contemporary political discourse. In a significant move towards transparency regarding one of the most notorious assassinations in American history, the Trump administration has released over 60,000 pages of documents related to the assassination of Senator Robert F. Kennedy. This second tranche of files, made public late Wednesday, follows a previous release of 10,000 records in April and has reignited discussions surrounding the events of June 5, 1968, when the senator was shot at the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles. The release of these documents was ordered by President Trump in January, a directive supported by Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the senator's son and current Secretary of Health and Human Services. Kennedy Jr. has long expressed skepticism about the conviction of Sirhan Sirhan, the man found guilty of his father's murder, suggesting that Sirhan may be innocent and that a broader investigation is warranted. He reiterated his plea for a renewed investigation in a letter to former Attorney General Eric Holder in 2012, arguing that audio analysis of the shooting suggested the presence of a second gunman based on the sound of 13 shots. Despite Sirhan's gun being capable of firing only 8 rounds. The newly released files include a variety of materials such as witness interviews, FBI memos, and even transcripts of police interviews with Sirhan. The Office of the Director of National Intelligence (ODNI), led by Director Tulsi Gabbard, noted that many of these documents had remained hidden in various storage facilities across the federal government for decades, never having been digitized or made publicly accessible until now. Gabbard emphasized the importance of transparency, stating today's release is an important step toward maximum transparency, finding the truth and sharing the truth. While the documents contain some previously known details, they also include new insights into the FBI's investigative efforts at the time, including discussions about various leads that were ultimately deemed non-credible. For instance, some memos discuss individuals who claim to have prior knowledge of the assassination. But these allegations were not substantiated by credible evidence, according to investigators. One memo revealed that Sirhan was actually under surveillance by the FBI just months prior to the assassination, although the reasons for this surveillance remain unclear. Eyewitness accounts detailed in the documents paint a complicated picture of Sirhan's mindset leading up to the assassination. One witness recounted a conversation with Sirhan just hours before the shooting in which he expressed disdain for wealth and skepticism about Kennedy's intentions, suggesting that he believed the senator was merely seeking the presidency to serve his interests rather than those of the poor. Despite the release of these documents, the fundamental questions surrounding RFK's assassination remain largely unanswered. Many records related to the investigation have been accessible in California's state archives since the 1980s. And the public has long been fascinated by the various conspiracy theories surrounding the event. Proponents of these theories often cite conflicting eyewitness testimonies or the supposed presence of additional bullets as evidence that Sirhan may not have acted alone. As discussions around the assassination continue, the case remains a focal point for those questioning the official narrative. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has been particularly vocal in advocating for a re-examination of the evidence, meeting with Sirhan in prison and supporting his bid for parole, a request that has been met with opposition from other members of the Kennedy family. Looking ahead, the release of these documents may prompt further inquiries into the circumstances of Senator Kennedy's death, as the National Archives continues to make records available. The hope for clarity and closure remains a poignant part of the legacy of one of America's most beloved political figures. The unfolding narrative surrounding the RFK assassination is likely to gain renewed attention as the public processes the implications of these revelations and considers their impact on historical understanding and accountability. In recent weeks, Attorney General Pam Bondi has found herself at the center of significant scrutiny and controversy as she navigates her dual role of combating drug trafficking and managing investigations tied to high-profile criminal cases. The juxtaposition of her recent announcements regarding major drug busts and the pressure from lawmakers for transparency in the Jeffrey Epstein investigation has sparked both praise and criticism. On May 6, Bondi announced one of the largest fentanyl seizures in U.S. history, where federal authorities confiscated an astounding 11.5 kilograms of fentanyl, equivalent to approximately 3 million pills. In a high-stakes briefing, Bondi underscored the operation's significance, stating, "This marks the most significant victory in our nation's fight against fentanyl and drug trafficking to date." Alongside the fentanyl, authorities seized substantial amounts of methamphetamine, cocaine, heroin, and firearms, resulting in the arrest of 16 individuals, including those with ties to the notorious Sinaloa cartel. This multi-agency operation targeted one of the largest and most dangerous drug trafficking organizations in our country, Bondi explained, emphasizing the commitment of her office to combat what she termed a weapon of mass destruction. Her assertive stance against traffickers was clear: "We will not negotiate with those who are killing our family members," she declared, reinforcing the zero-tolerance policy toward drug-related crimes. However, Bondi's approach has not been without contention. U.S. Representative Anna Paulina Luna has publicly criticized Bondi for what she sees as stonewalling efforts to release critical documents related to the Epstein investigation. Luna, who leads the task force on the declassification of federal secrets, has called for the immediate release of files that implicate powerful individuals in Epstein's extensive sex trafficking network. In a recent letter, she stated, "The survivors of Jeffrey Epstein as well as the American people deserve to know who among the elite protected, enabled, or participated in Epstein's disgusting racket." Luna's frustrations were amplified by the recent death of Virginia Giuffre, a prominent Epstein victim, which reignited public demand for transparency in the case. Her death, apparently by suicide, once again highlighted the need for full transparency regarding the case, Luna articulated, stressing that the American public is tired of a government that lacks accountability. The tension surrounding Bondi's dual responsibilities raises questions about her effectiveness as an attorney general. Critics argue that her handling of the Epstein investigation may reflect a broader pattern of prioritizing political allegiances over judicial integrity. This sentiment is echoed by Democratic lawmakers such as Representative Dave Min, who has taken steps to hold Bondi accountable for alleged misconduct, including ethical violations linked to her interactions with political figures. In light of these developments, the implications for both Bondi's administration and the broader judicial landscape remain to be seen. As she continues to lead significant drug enforcement operations, the pressure to address the Epstein investigation transparently could shape her legacy as Attorney General. The outcomes of these events will not only impact public perception but may also influence future legal and political accountability measures. Looking ahead, the interplay between Bondi's aggressive stance on drug trafficking and the demands for transparency in high-profile cases will likely remain a focal point in U.S. law enforcement and political discourse. As the nation grapples with these complex issues, the call for accountability and transparency will undoubtedly grow louder, shaping the future of governance and justice in America. In a pivotal moment for U.S.-China relations, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is set to lead discussions aimed at de-escalating tensions caused by recent trade tariffs. The upcoming meeting in Switzerland marks the first significant engagement between U.S. and Chinese officials since the Trump administration imposed a staggering 145% tariff on Chinese imports earlier this year. Bessent has indicated that the focus of these discussions will be on easing hostilities rather than negotiating a comprehensive trade deal. "We've agreed to talk, then on Saturday and Sunday we will agree on what we're going to talk about," Bessent remarked during an appearance on Fox News. He expressed a sense of urgency regarding the current trade climate, stating this isn't sustainable, especially on the Chinese side, and described the tariffs as the equivalent of an embargo. His comments underscore the administration's awareness that the current economic strategy could have significant repercussions not only for trade but also for domestic economic stability. Bessent will travel to Switzerland shortly, where he plans to meet with Swiss President Karen Keller-Sutter and the lead representative on economic matters from China. He will be accompanied by U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer. This meeting coincides with previous discussions held on the sidelines of the World Bank Group and International Monetary Fund spring meetings. Notably, Bessent emphasized that while the two nations have engaged in dialogue, they have not yet entered negotiations concerning the reduction of tariffs, indicating a cautious approach to any potential agreements. The backdrop of these talks is a growing concern among investors and lawmakers regarding the administration's trade policies. The Milken Institute's annual conference in Beverly Hills saw Bessent attempting to reassure financial elites about the administration's economic roadmap. "Scott Bessent is here to tell everyone that everything is fine," commented Matthew Chabran of Taika Capital, highlighting the administration's efforts to calm anxieties following the initial market reactions to the tariffs. During a House Financial Services Committee hearing, Vance faced scrutiny over proposed cuts to community development financial institutions (CDFIs), which play a crucial role in supporting low to moderate income communities. Lawmakers from both parties expressed their concerns, emphasizing the importance of these institutions in fostering economic growth. If CDFIs follow their statutory obligations, they can be important institutions, Vance stated, reinforcing the administration's position while also acknowledging prior criticisms regarding funding cuts. The proposed budget unveiled by the Trump administration suggests a $291 million reduction in discretionary awards for the CDFI fund, which has drawn sharp criticism from legislators who argue that such cuts undermine efforts to support vulnerable communities. Representative Al Green raised pointed questions about the characterization of the CDFI budget as woke, to which Vance responded that the fund is fulfilling its statutory obligations. As Vance prepares for his Swiss engagements, the broader implications of U.S.-China trade relations remain uncertain. The administration's approach to tariffs has created a landscape of strategic uncertainty which could have lasting effects on both domestic economic conditions and international trade negotiations. With the meeting looming, all eyes will be on whether Vance can navigate these complexities and initiate a path toward de-escalation that reassures both investors and policymakers. Looking ahead, the outcome of the Switzerland talks will likely influence the dynamics of U.S.-China trade relations and the broader global economic landscape. As tensions persist amidst a backdrop of fluctuating market sentiments, the administration's next steps will be critical in shaping not only investor confidence but also the long-term viability of U.S. trade policies. In a significant move that underscores the ongoing economic relationship between the United States and the United Kingdom. U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick announced on Thursday that a UK airline is poised to purchase $10 billion worth of Boeing jets. This announcement coincided with a broader trade agreement between the two nations, marking a substantial moment in post-Brexit trade dynamics. The trade deal, celebrated by both American and British leaders, aims to enhance market access for various U.S. products while reducing non-tariff barriers on British imports. Speaking from the Oval Office, President Donald Trump emphasized the importance of this agreement, particularly as it coincides with the 80th anniversary of VE Day, a symbol of the enduring alliance between the two countries. This deal opens up an estimated $5 billion in opportunities for American exporters, said Lutnick, highlighting the economic potential of the agreement. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, who participated in the announcement via speakerphone, expressed his enthusiasm and gratitude, suggesting that the deal reflects a renewed commitment to mutual economic benefit. Peter Mandelson, the British ambassador to the U.S., revealed that the negotiations had been intense, with Trump making a last-minute call to Starmer to secure more concessions from the UK. The specifics of the agreement include a commitment from the UK to increase its aircraft purchases from Boeing, an essential move for the American aerospace giant as it continues to recover from the challenges posed by the pandemic and production delays. Lutnick noted that the UK would also allow for increased access for American beef and ethanol, addressing previous restrictions that had hindered U.S. exports. Notably, while a 10% tariff on UK goods will remain in place, certain British exports such as Rolls-Royce car engines and aircraft parts will be exempt. This tailored approach to tariffs signals a strategic effort to bolster specific industries while also fostering a more favorable trade environment. The implications of this agreement extend beyond immediate economic benefits. It signifies a shift in how the UK is recalibrating its trade relationships in the wake of Brexit, potentially setting a precedent for future deals with other countries, including China. As negotiations with Chinese representatives loom, Trump hinted that positive outcomes could lead to a reduction in tariffs currently imposed on Chinese goods. Critics of the trade deal, however, have pointed to Lutnick's previous statements as economically incoherent and contradictory, suggesting that the complexities of international trade may complicate the expected benefits. Nevertheless, the U.S.-UK trade agreement, particularly the commitment to Boeing, illustrates a concerted effort to strengthen ties and stimulate economic growth on both sides of the Atlantic. Looking ahead, the successful implementation of this deal could pave the way for further collaborations in science and technology as indicated by Mandelson. With both nations poised to finalize the agreement's details in the coming weeks, the world will be watching to see how this bilateral relationship evolves and impacts global trade dynamics in the near future.